if we weren't making things complicated enough, we're going to make them more complicated by turning Tlingit linguistics into computer code. Okay. Oops. Okay, tell us what this thing is doing. I'll give you a 5-minute pitch and then we'll start the conjugation party. It's going to be epic. My prediction.
Okay, so in database design, you got to kind of think about everything as an entity, and each entity will describe one and only one instance. The instance will contain attributes. The relationships are formed through keys, key values, and what the keys do is allow only one unique entry per table. The foreign keys are the child side of the relationship, and so right here we have the root table, which defines the basic root that we're used to looking at, which is where we kind of start the formulation of the verb. So we have the root default, which would be that root that you normally see with the description, walks or finds or something like that. We have the theme ID, and this is not the thematic prefix, but the theme that you usually see in the dictionary that helps you figure out how you can use the verb. Classifier ID. Because the classifier breaks into several different groups, you kind of have to look at it in relation to the root as just the group itself. So, we'll have the L, the S, and the D. The reason I'm thinking that way is because the I mode and the D mode change with the way that you use the verb.
Oh, sure, that makes sense. So those would be a switch that can be like an algorithm.
Right. Because if you did it with put the I mode and D mode here, then you have a many-to-many relationship, and that creates an I mode. Right?
It couldn't change.
Right. So the variability ID, which I think we just changed that actually to the stem variation, because that's what I was looking for.
Oh, okay.
So we can forget this one here. So we have the stem variation ID and the type ID.
The verb type? Like, is that like acts?
Yes.
States,
Thank you.
events?
Thank you, that was it. Thanks.
Motion?
Yes.
Position?
Position, yes.
Ah.
And then we have our, let's see, the stem bar ID is that stem variation that we were talking about over here, which is how you determine whether or not it's going to be a long and high, or short and high, or long and low, based on the mode.
Okay. So what is this thing supposed to do?
So what this will do is it puts everything in relation so that you can put a root and define the different things within the root to create a theme.
So you'd say the root is team, the classifier is S, the stem variation is closed, conjugation prefix is qa, and the type is event.
Right.
And then I would be able to make a computer program and at some point say, we'll have an interface where you can select some variables, and then now it'll conjugate the prefix for us.
Right. Well, the whole verb.
Oh yeah, the whole verb.
Yeah.
So this would be much different than what we have now. Is just nothing. It's fantastic, but it's really a list in a Word document. It's really a list. And we can have databases, but this would be something that it makes the predictions for you. Like all this stuff goes on in a fluent speaker's brain, even though the terminology isn't there, but the wiring is like naturally made. And so this is almost like saying, we're going to make something that can talk, right? And so that's basically what we're doing, and we're entering these different variables. And what would be neat is if there was an interface where the subject was sort of a drop-down menu, and then you could select I, we, you, y'all, she or he, they, someone. So you would just have, you would see that instead of the coding stuff, like we have 3S and stuff.
Well, programming has billions of libraries literally now. And so what I was thinking about is the drop-down menu, same thing, but everybody seems to be falling in love with computer. So what if you had something like a wheel?
Oh, okay. So then you put them on the wheel, and then you could just sort of click. Oh, you spin it or something?
Spin it with your finger.
Oh, that's a great idea, because then you get touch screens, right?
Yes.
So make it real interactive.
Exactly.
Talking about like a Tlingit speaking artificial intelligence.
Well, we're talking about developing the framework. Hassan would develop it for an app that can conjugate verbs for you. Rather than having, because right now what we have is we get it from the speaker, we write it down, and then we can develop an interface that fetches this whole data for us. But this, if we enter just the verb information, it'd be able to just say, and then it would pop using. So, for example, you would select the mode, and you say future, subject, me, object, you, and then you should, if a team should pop up, or ik plus, ye ik plus a team. So those are some other things, is that it would have to know that certain verbs in certain modes, a prefix or a preverb is going to pop up. That's the other thing. So you get the preverb there. But for example, this is the big closeout class. Nobody at the university liked my joke of the Titanic teach-out, because the teach-out is it's a negative term in the university. It basically means your program is getting shut down, and you can teach until the existing students are graduated, and then it's pretty much over. And so with the threat of programs shutting down, and with programs actually shutting down, we kept making jokes about all having teach-outs, and so I was going to make a Titanic teach-out shirt. I don't think it's going to happen for everything. Something has to stay. But this is fascinating. This is, I think, some of the things that we're trying to do is, one, continue to look at the language in ways that help us see the underlying structure, and then we're going to do insane conjugation exercises again today, with the idea that we just keep practicing and you get your brain around the idea that it needs to know how to make predictions, because a neat thing about something like this is you can create it in a computer, and what we're trying to do is create this in our brain, and I was listening to this guy talk about the neuroscience of decolonization, in particular when it comes to learning languages. And some of the things that he was talking about is like using meditation, using other sort of techniques, which I think we might implement in the future for some of our classes. But because what you're doing is you are literally burning new pathways through your brain. So Alice Taff, Wudishi Kla, likes to talk about this. She says your brain is made up of these neurons, and the neuron is basically these two conductors, and in the middle is basically a set of cells. That's not sneeze. And these cells have time, so they have fat around them, and that's what sort of becomes the conductor. So the sort of more fat they get around them, the faster things go through. And so sometimes it's neat to think about the science that's going on. And we take lots of approaches to language, I think. You listen to it, you speak it, you read it, you kind of dissect it, you think about the nuts and bolts of it. And I think you've got to come at it from all these different directions, because you're burning all these different pathways in your brain, so that when you're communicating with someone and you have to communicate something, which is really interesting because theoretically what we're trying to do, and I was reading also about second language acquisition theory, and a lot of second language acquisition theory is centered around foreign language acquisition, which is much different because you go somewhere, you're surrounded by some new culture and some new language, instead of you are somewhere and you're surrounded by a culture that is fully participating in the death of its own language, which is often the case, right? It's a very sad thing, but it's also sort of a reality, and you have to sort of look at that reality in order to alter. And so some of the things that you were trying to do is develop an approach that puts the language around you, puts you among the language, and also brings the language to the surface more around people. And so some of this stuff is fascinating to me to think about the tools that we can continue to use to make language learning just sort of more accessible.
The impetus for this idea is based in some of the things I read about linguistic theory. I believe behaviorism believes that there's a critical period that happens for young kids. Is that behaviorism? And the critical period, they say, is from 2 to 5 years old. I think, and what they infer is it only happens in, the actual age, 2 to 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But I theorize that the critical period happens every time that you get introduced to a language you want to learn. That first 2 to 5 years, within 2 years, you'll start to learn words, and if you can associate that with something else, you'll, this idea of critical period, children will learn complex aspects of grammar and never being formally taught. So they'll learn how to put his, her versus him, in those situations. They'll learn how to say this versus this and just never being formally taught about that stuff. Well, I theorize the critical period isn't an actual age, it's your introduction to the language. And so that if in the first 2 to 5 years you can get somehow immersed in the language, then you'll get excited about the words that you hear and you'll kind of dive into it. So I would like to develop devices that would help us get there, because unfortunately we don't have the speakers available to us to put it in the marketplace or at the home. Richard Nora Klein's prefaces to the beginning Tlingit state that his first preface basically stated it will never be a language we use anymore because we don't have it available in the market now. But he changed his thought through the prefaces. He kept them all, but he changed them.
Yeah, and I think proven wrong at some point.
Well, sure.
That it becomes a language of regular use. And so some of the things that I found is that I think 2 to 3, they really focus on these kids. And 2 to 3 years is when you can teach without doing intensive grammar stuff, but you're still going to have to do that at some point. It means you have longer to delay it because their mind is in this formative sort of mode where it's learning language. And some of the theories based on that you can't learn languages later in life that well, sometimes were based on cases where there's extreme trauma. Like there was a couple that had a kid and they built a little room and locked the kid in the little room and never talked to the kid ever. The kid came out 11 or 12 and could never learn a language. But I think that's just trauma, not just trauma, but I think that's trauma. I think that is the key sort of thing. But I think there were other studies they found where there's these kids that are burst speakers or studying at 2 or 3, and you get them in some language immersion program and they just take off. And then the adults are going much slower. And for adults, I think it's frustrating because they see these kids doing something and they're not doing something. But what happens is the adults actually surpass the kids at some point if the adults stick to it and study with rigor and multiple methods. And so what you find also is the way you typically teach grammar to kids is different than how you teach grammar to adults. Because I would say most people do teach grammar formally. I mean, they're not breaking down. I mean, most people don't teach anybody grammar based on like linguistic rules, unless you are a linguist. Then you might say, oh, well, here's the rule behind that. A lot of times you keep repeating it, and through that, a lot of times you let stuff go. And as parents, I think most parents just let stuff go, but then they start offering corrections back just by repeating it correctly. So if the kid says, well, I saw those mooses walked away, and then you say, oh, I saw those moose walk away. And so you would say it correctly back to the kid, and then the kid, and so they reach a grammar learning mode as well, which I think people do. Adults, but I think adults hit that mode faster, but then also kind of resist it, because the problem with learning grammar as a second language is that it competes with the grammar that constructs your reality. And so now you need to construct this other reality that sometimes is going to be out of alignment pretty far at times with the reality that you have. Any other thoughts? So we're going to let's put in the dictionary from Kuwuch Dekiqewu for artificial intelligence. That'll be our term for artificial intelligence. Okay. Anything else on your mind? Have we got some perfective sentences?
I've got this really neat one from Keishi, and it's not perfective. Oh, wait a minute, from Keishi. I've got two with that dach that were just so interesting. So I dug it up. So one sentence, and I don't know if it's using dach. Okay, here it is. So this is from Keishi. Chatlak chaach janich we keich dach ashayi yut. And she said I always hear those dogs barking over there. And she said dach pluralizes it instead of hus because dogs are non-human. And she said that dach always makes it plural, so you don't have to pluralize keich. So it was just interesting. So that was it's not perfective. It was just a really neat sentence.
Nice. Can you say it one more time?
Chatlak chaach janich we keich dach ashayi yut. I always hear those dogs barking over there.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever you get the tuk, you're going to want some repetitive form of the verb after that. So tuk, what is that? Nich is how they say the always in Tessa. Okay. Anybody else got any perfective sentences? One or two?
Just any sentence?
Yeah. Yes, I know that you've had, I don't know if you guys got your internet fixed. We missed you. It was crazy. But we did a bunch of perfective sort of things from the perfective handout. And then I just said I don't know what I said, 10? We'll make it part of the final, I guess. Make 10 sentences using some of those perfective examples from that chapter. So you'll just sort of take one of those things like qua'ach or something. I don't know if that one was in there. And then you would just make a sentence out of it. It doesn't have to be anything super complicated, but I want us to practice these things, and as we're changing the subject a lot, now we're going to change the object and the subject, and we changed an indirect object as well. But I want us to also practice pulling that out and using it, because the idea is conjugating verbs is such a big part of speaking, and if we can unlock that, and then we start unlocking the modes, then you start becoming a dynamic speaker, and you start learning more verbs, more modes, and then the conjugation. So I guess everybody, let's take out a piece of paper, and we're going to write down some answers. We'll do a pretend final exam preparation. We're not going to have a final exam, but if I did, these would probably be some of the things that I would have on there. They'll be very short answers. In 1,000 Tlingit words.
Huh?
Okay. I don't think I have them necessarily up anywhere. Write down the 4 conjugation prefixes. Write down the 4 conjugation prefixes. Write down the 4 conjugation prefixes. Write down not all of 16, but write down the 4 classifier groups. Write down the 4 classifier groups. What are the 2 things you could change about a classifier? What are the 2 things you can change about a classifier? Write down, what are the 5 verb types? What are the 5 verb types? What do you do to a verb if you change the classifier group? What does it do to a verb if you change the classifier group? What does it do to a verb if you change the thematic prefix? What does it do to a verb if you change the thematic prefix? Very good enough. See if I can remember what questions I asked. What are the 4 conjugation prefixes? Anyone?
Zero. Da. Ha. Na.
Mm-hmm. What are the 4 classifier groups? Someone else?
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
S.
Yeah.
L.
Uh,
D.
Ole. What is the 4th classifier group? SH. Shh. Yes, SH. What are the 2 things you can change? What did I say? How did I say?
What?
What 2 things can you change in a classifier? What are the 2 things you could change in a classifier? I should write these down.
You could make it plus I or minus I, or you could make it plus D or minus D.
A Yahweh and a cheese. You can make it plus I minus I plus D minus D. And that's why we have those 4 boxes. Okay. What are the 5 verb types? Anyone?
Motion,
Motion,
event,
event,
act,
act,
state,
state,
or positional.
position. Yahweh. Motion, act, event, state, condition. Is that all?
Positional.
Position.
Oh, that's a conditional.
Oh, it's a conditional position. When I'm there. What's next?
Change.
Oh, what happens? What do you do to a verb when you change the classifier group? What does that do?
Changes what the verb is doing, for sure.
Sometimes, yeah, it would change what the verb is doing. That is correct. That is correct. And if you were to change the classifier group, you would make a new verb. And that's an important concept to think of. Once you change that classifier group, you have made a new verb. There are a couple that like to change in the negative form, and those are yak-a and kesh-ush-ke. Those ones like to do that. There might be a couple others that do that as well. I think you could technically say kesh-uke, but I have never, ever heard it in my life, and I don't know whoever has. What happens if you change the thematic prefix of it? You make a new verb, right? That also makes a new verb. So those are important things, you know. Some of them have these thematic prefixes built in. There's probably lots of them where you can add additional thematic prefixes and they've never been recorded before. And so there's probably lots of undocumented verbs out there, and there might be lots of verbs where you can add various thematic prefixes in there. Some of them are pretty obscure. Some of them are very regularly used. Can anybody tell me what the general sort of meaning is behind the conjugation prefixes?
I'm not sure, but is 0, I may have it wrong, is one unbounded motion, and ga is motion upwards, ka is motion downwards, and maybe the 0 is motion that comes to a stop. I may have them mixed up.
That was 100% correct. Ga is upwards, ga is downward. Zero is often unbounded motion or bound motion, so there it comes to some sort of stop. And then na is unbound motion. So just that way or from that way. And not that it goes on forever, but just that there's no stopping point specified. And that's loose. It's not the case all the time, but that seems to be where they come from. How would we describe basically how the classifiers work? There's kind of meaning attached to them, but it's very loose.
Zero is the default.
Zero is the default. X. L. SH.
Is that for
Not always, but something with a negative connotation.
Yeah, so the SH often has some negative connotation or something that the subject may not be wanting to do, or, pejorative is kind of how it's being described. And not always, but that seems to be the case, and there are very, very few of those. How about S and L? What do we say about those? Generally, not every single time. So the general rule is S often
Is
makes...
S reflective?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to wonder if S makes it reflexive.
Not reflexive. So a reflexive would be usually an SH that pops up in the object pronoun, and we'll see some of that. And so the reflexive means to the self, and it should force a classifier plus D. Whoosh is reciprocal. It's another preverb, and that would push the classifier plus D. S generally means, we see it often to make something specific, right? So instead of you're being a member of this group. Instead of seeing a killer whale, you're seeing that same killer whale that you've been looking for. Instead of seeing a dog, you see that dog that comes around and digs up in your garden. And so oftentimes it specifies something. And then the L group oftentimes makes it, it's used a lot to make things sort of having a characteristic. So you see like Tligushi hit, it's the house that is dorsal finned. And that's why you have Chini for vest, because Chini, it's unarmed. So Chini would mean it was armed. And so these are some things that you can just sort of start looking for as patterns. Both the S and L can also be used to specify agency. Instead of something happening, somebody is making something happen. And so either one of those can be used. Generally, you don't see S classifiers if there's some sort of S sound in the root. They'll jump often straight to the L. Okay, now for the technical stuff. Conjugation party time. We are going to see how many of these we can get through. So we're going to send it around the room, and it's your turn, and your job is to guess what the form is going to be. So the way that you would look at this particular screen is this is going to give you the verb theme. Everything you need to know, oops, I'm going to give it to you correctly though. Everything that you need to know is going to be here. Let me actually do a major fix. Okay. So here's the verb theme. So we're going to see if there's an O, that means there's an object there. If there's an S, there's a subject. If there's thematic stuff, there is. But if there's not, then it's not there. So we'll see this is object intransitive, which means there's an object, but there is no subject. It's an L classifier. That would say D plus L if it was always plus D, which it isn't. And this shows you the root with the stem variation. And so we would call this type of stem an ejective. That means it never has a low form. But we don't have to worry necessarily about what this, we don't have to predict the stem variation because it's going to be up here in the top right. It says we're looking for the perfective form of the verb, which means you're going to get object, perfective marker, li classifier, short, and high, because it is a zero conjugation verb. So, who would like to go first and conjugate that verb? Any theme music? You should be happy, not like ominous, like doo-doo-doo. Okay, and well, we got to start on the right-hand side and work our way down. So we've got I'm dirty.
Would it be chatwuchlichech?
So we have from contestant number 1, chatwuchlichech. Absolutely correct. Okay, now we start going around the room. Simon, you're dirty. Okay. So we notice this is the object here. When it has a closed ending, it is not impacting this. And we're getting wushechef. We should predict that every time because there's no subject. We don't have to change the subject. But if we have an open, any open object pronoun, it's going to cause it to contract to just the W. So there's your major hint. She or he is dirty. That would be he or she made him or her dirty. There's no if there's no subject, and we shouldn't have the A in the front.
So,
But there is a verb that would conjugate that way.
so would it be just normal? Yeah, so wushlichech.
Wushlichech. Okay. So there is a verb. You could say aushlichech. Like there's two kids. And you say, how did that kid get dirty? And then you would point at the other kid and you say, aushlichech. He made him dirty. He dirtied him. Yeah. We're dirty. That would be we dirtied it. Okay, and there is a verb you could say who dirtied this table? Y'all are dirty. Awesome. So again, open causes the contraction, and they just run together. But just standardizing Tlingit, this is how we write them. And we should write it this way because there are a few verbs where it does make a difference. Because you say, Tesh ishke. You are bad, you're terrible. But you would say, Tesh yi ushke. So then you see a little bit of separation between that and the areas. Okay. Kuwuch. They are dirty.
Hasduflichech.
That is a good guess, but there's no duh, just hasfushechech. You could say hastuwushechechu, their dirtiness, if you're talking about it as a noun, but otherwise we have hasfushechech or hastu-e something something. And so in this case, just they are dirty. We're pluralizing the object with the has. Okay. Sisala, people are dirty.
Well, Kushitehu.
Kushitehu. And so when I went to Kahonish with some of these, and I think when Kagishawa went with some of these to the elders, they prefer the K a lot of times over the Ka, and then K plus perfective gets you Ku. It's long and it has that rounding. Kushitehu. Okay. Chishu Han. Yidata yata. Yisatin. Object, ka subject, ka S group, ka E. And this is an open root. It has standard stem variation, 0 conjugation prefix, act verb. It's transitive, which you can see by the object and the subject. It's to cook. We're looking for the perfective form. Object, perfective, subject. SI classifier, long and high. Stem variation. Simuk, I cooked it.
Kwasai.
Khwasai, you cooked it. Yisai. Yisai. So this is.
Because it does the thing.
Yeah, so the object would be 0, and then we're going to, the perfective in the second person is going to become ye. Yise, yiche, yiseku, right? And so this is just more of these sort of stem shapes that we're just getting. Wasakhaduaka, you cooked me. Anyone?
Khat yisai.
Khat yisei. The chicken said from the grave or wherever. Okay. Wait. He or she cooked it.
Wusit.
So when we're getting a third person here and a third person here. So what our prediction should be is the subject would be 0, and if that's 0, then the object should be A.
Asai.
And then we got the perfective in between. Ausei, ausei, and it's okay. We keep seeing more of these, and then they get easier to predict the more often we do them. Hasank, we cooked it. Tusei, okay. Kuwuch, y'all cooked it there in Yakutat.
Yisai.
Yi sei, okay. Sisala, they cooked it in Yakutat.
Has ausai.
Okay. Has ausei. Simuk, it was cooked. So this good prediction. So we see the similarities between wutu and wudu, but the du. Here's another thing for your chart, your crazy chart on the board. The fourth person subject will push all non-zero classifiers plus D every single time. It will push all 0 classifiers minus D every single time. No exceptions. You cannot do se, you cannot do she, you cannot do D. Oh wait, yeah, that's correct. You have to dudzi and dudli and duji. You can't dushi and you can't dudi. You have to duwa. I did too many examples.
What time is it on your video there?
6:30.
Okay.
Oh, you mean? I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
It's probably we probably started at 6:45, so it's probably 45 minutes in.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Yisatin gata atsu object ka subject transitive away. Let's Tlingit words for these. Zero act verb, zero, we see the zero classifier group. Do, this is another ejective. That means we'll always mark it high because it'll never have a low, or it'll never have a low form, long and low. It has the thematic prefix of ka, so those are going to come in between the object and the subject. Oops. Does that say ha?
Yeah.
I was like,
How hard is that?
What?
Bad. That thematic prefix is hilarious. Okay, hold on, let me fix it. Okay. Paste. Okay. So again, this shows us what the perfective will look like. Object, ka, perfective, subject, ya, and then du, short and high, because it's zero conjugation prefix. I type it. Any guess is a good guess.
It's not like I don't think this is right now, but like cow seduch.
Okay, so we got zero, so we're going to expect waduch. That's how it should end. Then we have object, subject, and the subject should be zero, ka, and then cha. So ka plus perfective plus cha. We should, what happens, like for example, when we had huasei, so we have the perfective and the cha, but the perfective jumps on the other side, which will be the same thing here, right? So when we say hua'ach, so it should have something similar, but with the ka in front of it. So ka plus hua is kahwa. Kahwaduch. Okay. Awea, you tied it. So the zero groups have a little bit of a different shape. So we're going to get any consonant, and then iya is we're going to get for the second person. Kiyaduch. Kiyaduch. Hasank. He or she tied it. There's no it. Has to be
Kawadoch.
Akawaduch. Okay. Kuwuch. We tied it.
Tuwaduch.
We left out the ka. Or at least I didn't hear the ka on there.
Katuwaduch.
Kautuwaduch. So here we got the perfective in there. Kautuwaduch. And we're going to see similar things down here. Okay. Cisalaya, y'all tied it.
Kayiyaduch.
Kayiduch. So there shouldn't be an extra syllable in there. They just sort of run into it. Kayiduch. The kiya is with the second person singular. Kayiduch. Okay. Simuk, they tied it. He or she tied them. They tied them. Hasakawaduch. Kudrich, it was tied. Should be similar to this one. But instead of a T, you should have a D.
So like Kauduwaduch.
Kauduwaduch.
Kaudu.
Kauduwaduch. It was tied. Okay, sheesh. It's time to love, and we're gonna love a whole bunch of things from a whole bunch of people. Love fest. What are the things that this is telling us? Somebody walk me through this. I've never seen one of these before. What does this mean?
That's the object.
That's the object.
That's the subject. That's the classifier.
The S group.
That's the verb group.
What the heck is this?
Means it doesn't change.
Doesn't change. Okay, and then we have a G. It's a state verb. It's transitive. We're going to look for the imperfective form. O, S, S-I classifier. Khan. All imperfective states should be plus I. The others should be minus I. And there's only one act. Well, an imperfective, there's only three verbs that can have an imperfective. A state, an act, and a positional. And a positional should only be an imperfective. All states are plus I because they have to be that way to be that way. All acts, they have to be minus I because they're not done yet. Okay, who went last? Oh, Noea. I love her, him, or it.
Chasachan.
Chasachan. I love them. Chasang.
Chasachan.
Chasachan. Chawuch, I love you.
Echsichan.
Echsachan. Sisla, I love all y'all.
Yifsichan.
Yichsachan. Okay. So again, same thing. Open causes contraction. So I love people. Chuchsachan. Yeah, away. Chuchsachan. So without the perfective in there, things stay shorter, right? We see that. Kutrich. I love something.
Sichan or
Ut. Ut is going to be the something. It's that fourth person non-human. So we're going to see that pattern come. We don't use it that much, but Ut chasachan. Okay. Well, we love her, him, or it.
Tusechan. No.
Tusachan. So no perfective. Tusachan. So imperfective means we don't have to worry about the perfective marker. Okay. Sung. We love them. Astusachan. Kuwuch. We love you. Gee, you're popular.
Itusechan.
Itusachan. Okay. Sisalam. We love y'all.
Yitusichan.
Yitusachan. Simik. We love people.
Kutusachan.
Kutusachan. Kutrich. We love something.
Tusechan.
Atusachan. Okay. Jumping over so we'll get a different pattern. Chasank. You love her, him, or it. We'll come back to you. I promise. Just gotta break up the pattern. You love her, him, or it. Isachan. Isachan. So you're gonna have a 0, and then an I, and then so that's. And when we got this imperfective, it's nice because the object and subject are right next to each other, and we start to see how it works. Kuwuch, you love them.
Hasechan.
Has isachan. So we still have to have the and the hus. It doesn't change very much. Whenever you throw the hus on there, You've already got the from it to them or her to them. Sisala, you love me. You know it.
Chat ishan.
Khatisachan. We did, what were we doing? Oh, I did this. I was in Anchorage and I gave a presentation on creating, I was on a panel. And we were talking about creating fluent speakers. And afterwards, my kids all showed up and my wife, and we all had lunch together. And my oldest sat on my lap and she said, Ishi, khatisachan ge. But she said it real quiet so no one could hear it. It's great. Okay. Timuk, you love us. Cheesh.
Ha second.
Ha sachan. Cheesh. Kutchit, you love people. Chi sachan. A little bit unusual, but when you have k and eh, you get pi. It's one of those things. That's what you get, like you say, yaqidige, you are intelligent. And it has to do with understanding their subjects in that particular one. Waya, you love something.
At isechan.
Atisachan. Okay. So once you know that form, some of those ones, that are closed, it doesn't really change them. Hasank. Y'all love her, him, it.
Yisachan?
Yisechan.
Yes.
Yisechan. So ye is the object, ye is the subject. And it looks different when you throw the perfective, then you get the ye thing, Y-E-E-Y. Just in the imperfective, you're going to get ye. Kawuch. Y'all love them.
Has yisechan.
Okay. Has yisechan. Sisala. Y'all love me.
Chat ishan.
Chat yisechan. Yakei chawe. Simik. You all love us.
Ha second.
Ha yisechan. Chich. You all love people.
So would this be like Conjugation?
Ku yisechan. That's very close. So ku yi. So it makes the yi go long. Ku yisechan. So we get these things that are slightly unpredictable, and so it's like, okay, you got to memorize that, and you get these things, you get that, and so the k sometimes makes things go a little wacky. Away, you all love something.
At yisechan.
At yisechan. Okay, we're gonna skip again. Throw the pattern around. Kuvuch. She or he loves her, him or it.
Asechan.
Asachan. Okay, Sisla. She or he loves them, they love her or him, they love them.
Hasashan.
Asasachan. Okay. She or he loves me.
Chat second.
Chatsachan. So I gotta drop the She or he loves us.
Ha-sechan?
Okay. Hasachan. Let's get with authority now. Aware. She or he loves you.
Isechan.
Isachan. Hasank. She or he loves y'all.
Yisachan?
Yisachan. Okay. Yisachan. Yisachan. But here's, so somebody tell me she or he loves you. It's right there.
Yisachan?
Isachan. Somebody tells me she or he or you love him or her. Isachan, right? It's the exact same. 3 to 2 and 2 to 3 are the exact same. Okay. She or he loves people.
Kasechan, kusechan, kisechan. One of those three.
Kusachan, there you go. Okay, kusachan, because you'll have a 0 third person subject. Kusachan. Okay. Sisla, she or he loves something.
Atzechan.
Atzachan, simach, they love me.
Haskaskan. Like.
They love me. Where am I? Where's the me?
Haschat asekan.
Haschatzachan. Haschatzachan. So a couple of things. The hus is in the outer orbit. We always keep that in mind. It's like Pluto, I guess, although there could be preverbs. We're not counting them right now. So it's kind of Pluto. And so you're going to have hus object sechan. And the same rules. If you have 3 on 3, it's asechan. Otherwise, it shouldn't be asechan. They love us.
Hasechan.
Has ha-sechan. Awea, they love you.
Has isekan.
Has isechan. Okay. Hasank, they love people.
Haskasachan.
Has kusechan. Okay. Kuuch, they love something.
Has atzechan.
Has atzechan. Okay. Sisala. She or he is loved. Or it.
Has it jumped to the perfective?
Like, but it will jump to fourth person.
Dusechan.
You can't do it, and you can't do it.
Atzechan. No, like Asechan.
Dudzechan. So du it's gonna be 0 du, but that means it pushes it plus d because it's a non-zero classifier. Okay. Zimuk, so you're loved.
Hasdutzekan.
Hasdidzechan. I am loved.
Chatdutzechan.
Chatdidzechan. We are loved.
Hatudzechan.
Hadidzechan. Hasank, you are loved.
Idudzachan.
Ididzechan. Okay. Kwuch, y'all are loved.
Yidzichan.
Ididzechan. Sisala, people are loved.
Putzichan.
Chududzechan. Chududzechan. Sumik, something is loved.
Atdutzekan.
Atidzechan. Chunachuk eich de katyuhan. Chunachuk egun chish. Gwalli dat aya cajun when it's aya gachtwil sa. Machoek a dain yeji yidne. Kochte ko aga. Tu yeji gachtu dine. Whoosh tin. 5 minutes. And then we're going to power through these with the perfective object-subject combinations. It's complicated, but I think it helps, because then you can start putting these together outside.
So the I mode, the description of it being real versus non-real is genuine,
I would say it's completed.
completed,
Completed, it means it marks the verb as completed.
or not completed.
Yes, minus I is not completed. And it's only plus I for the positive perfective, the imperfective state, and all potentials. Potentials are weird.
Are minus I's too.
Hmm?
They're minus I's too, right?
Oh.
They're all plus I.
Plus I.
Those are the only things that are ever plus I. Positive perfective, positive imperfective state, All potentials.
Everything else is minus.
Everything else is minus I. The overwhelming majority. So minus I is the default. Plus I is what you activate in those three verb modes. Okay. Party continues. So now we have. Anybody got any questions? Everybody okay? Everybody tired?
Depends on your definition.
Anybody got any questions? How's that? Okay, so now we've got object, thematic prefix, sa. We remember in the third person perfective will become say. Okay. We have the subject, the zero group classifier, ach, which is to hear. This is a zero conjugation event verb. It's transitive. For S to hear O, a voice or singing. So this is hearing somebody talking or singing. So when it goes to something, it's actually going to be a different verb. The sa is going to go away. We see here what the order we're going to get is object, sa, perfective, subject, ya, classifier, ach, short and high, because it's zero conjugation prefix. Who would like to start this round? Conjugate that verb. We need awesome, like epic theme music,
We need little buttons.
right? That'd be great. Beep, beep. You guys should
What
get.
would be, or what is, what's that's
Oh, at
Jesse?
some point, we should develop a game where, like, you got a button and you just get a point for conjugating it right, but you lose maybe less points than you would gain. It's like, let's say you get 25 points for getting it right, but then you get minus 15 points if you get it wrong. It would be epic. Okay, somebody go. I heard, her, him, or it.
Would it be sach, sachwa ach?
Sachwa ach, the A. Sumit, I heard them.
Hasachwa'ach.
Sachwa ach, okay.
Isachwa'ach.
Isachwa ach, okay.
Yisachwa'ach.
Yisachwa ach. Chasank, I heard someone.
Dusachwa'ach.
Kusachwa ach. Kusachwa ach, in the object. Okay. Kuuch, I heard something, and the sa should drop out. Should just get rid of it.
Atqua'ach.
Atchwa ach, okay. Sisla, we heard her, him, or it.
Sautu ach.
Sao tuwa ach, okay. We heard them.
Hasachwa'ach.
Hasau tuwa ach. We heard you.
Isatua'ach.
Isau tuwa ach. That's something you can yell if somebody is speaking. Isau tuwa ach. We heard you. It's another way to affirm what they have said. We heard y'all.
Yisachwa'ach.
Ye sau tuwa ach. We heard someone.
Kusachwa'ach.
Sau tuwa ach. So those are getting some, that's pretty long prefix. Sau tuwa ach. Okay. Kuuch, we heard something.
Attua'ach.
At wutuwa'ach. Wutuwa'ach. Okay. See, so now we're skipping you for pattern variation. Simik. You heard her, him, or it. If you look at that word heard enough times, it's a really weird word.
Yeah, it looks like it's spelled wrong.
Heard. But and then like what's even weirder is when I was working with the speaker, I was like, I heard you. And he was like, he used the verb for like herding like animals. I was like, huh, it's spelled weird and it has a hum in it. Okay. So you heard her, him, or it.
Isawa. Okay.
And there shouldn't be a it should just start with sa.
Oh, saya.
And then we've got the zero, which is a little bit different. If this were like SA, if this was sa with like, let's say, hle classifier, it would say sai hle. But because it's zero, we should expect siya.
Sia.
Siya. Okay, so there's zero and everything else, and that's very common in Tlingit, whether you're talking about conjugation prefix or the classifier, which shows you that zero is the default, but it also has these kind of just different functions. Okay, you hear them.
Yisiach.
You hear them. So them would be
So,
yes.
so hasiach.
Hasiya'ach. Okay. You heard me. Chatsiya'ach yadi. Okay. You heard us. Hasiya'ach. Yep. So once we get the pattern, we should be able to see there's a lot going on here, but really once the first prediction is made on the subject, then the object is just cycling through. Hawuch, you heard someone.
Kufsiya'ach.
Kusiya'ach, okay. Sisala, you heard something.
Siyaach.
And then the sa should drop off because some things don't talk. They're indefinite. They're fourth person, non-human things. Even a monster would still be a third person. So we're going to say at-iya'ach. It's a different verb. It's confusing. It ruined my examples, but it's okay. Simich. Y'all heard her, him, or it.
Sayi'ach.
Sayi'ach. Okay.
Hasayiach.
Hasayi'ach. Y'all heard me.
Chatsayiach.
Chatsayi'ach. Okay. Y'all heard us.
Asiya.
Hasayi'ach. Kuwuch. Y'all heard someone.
Kusayi'ach.
Kusayi'ach. Okay. Sisla, y'all heard something.
At yiach.
At-yi'ach. Okay. Skipping simuk. Get our pattern variation. Kudchich. She or he heard her, him, or it. So this is third person, this is
Mhm.
third person.
So it's, mm, we.
This should be 0.
Mhm.
That means this should be
A.
A.
So.
Huh?
So us.
A good prediction would be asawa'ach, but there's a weird thing where sa plus the perfective and the 0 classifier, you get say. So we should predict asawa'ach. Asawa'ach. Okay. She or he heard them. They heard her or him. They heard them.
Hasasewa'ach.
Oops, you were correct. Hasasewa'ach. Uh-oh.
If that was in the sentence, could you say, like, contract that hus into the s? So then it would be sasewa'ach.
Well, it would be hasasewa'ach. But if there was something, you could say adesasewa'ach, the way they heard them, or the way she or he heard him or her. Let me just make a note real quick that I had an error. All these errors. Oops. Okay. Back to the big show. Oops, how do we end up here? Chatsewa'ach. Chatsewa'ach. Because the should fall off. Okay, kuwuch. Oh, we lost her. Sisala. She or he heard us.
Hasewa'ach.
Sewa'ach. Okay. Simach. She or he heard you.
Isewa'ach.
Okay. She or he heard you all.
Yisewa'ach.
Yisewa'ach. She or he heard someone.
Chosewa'ach.
Chosewa'ach. She or he heard something, and it should change. The sa should drop out. It's a different verb.
Iwa'ach.
At'uwa'ach. A little bit of a funky one. Uwa. It's just a different thing. We won't worry about it. Kuruch. They heard me. So here's the she or he hearing up here. Should look the same as that without the without the I. And then if there's the they, that's the Pluto. Haschat
Sewa'ach.
okay. Sisala, they heard us. Run.
Hasewa'ach.
Okay. Samak, they heard you.
Hasewa'ach.
Okay. They heard you all.
Yisewa'ach.
Okay. They heard someone.
Tlingit.
Has kusewa'ach. They heard something kasunk.
As uwa'ach.
Has at uwa'ach yekei. Kuruch. She or he or it was heard.
Zewa'ach.
Sauduwa'ach. Sauduwa'ach yekei. See, Salah, they were heard.
How would do ach?
Hasauduwa'ach. Hasauduwa'ach. They. Okay, I was heard. Chetzaudua, we were heard.
Asauduwa'ach.
Hasaudua, you were heard.
Isauduwa'ach.
Isaudua, y'all were heard.
Yisaduwa'ach.
Isaudua, kuluch, people were heard. It's so weird.
Kusauduwa'ach.
Husaudua, okay. Salah, closing this verb out, something was heard.
At do ach gosh.
Atwudua, kunachawe, yuhan kunischish. This is our last perfective. And then we'll do some futures and we'll be done. It's going to happen. Okay, so here we go. We've got object, subject, S classifier, teen. This is qa, event verb. It's for S to see or behold O, which is usually some specific thing. So we expect object, perfective, subject, si, classifier, teen, long and low. And we'd like to begin this round with I saw her, him, her, and it could be see. This is one, it's a verb that could be tense, does not have anything to do with it, just means it has happened.
Quasatin.
Huasatin, I saw you.
Plural, them.
Nope, what is going on? Them? Hold on. Oh yes, I saw them. That is correct. Huasatin. I confused myself. I saw you. Satin. So we remember, by learning these rules, we'll see why the contraction should happen here. A lot of people say ichwasatin, ilchsatin. It should collapse, and that's just something that happens. I saw y'all. Yilchsatin. I saw someone. Kuchsatin. That W should be in there. Kuchsatin. A. Kuch. I saw something.
Atchwasatin.
Atchwasatin. For the super mega bonus double Jeopardy points, Salah, I saw myself.
Hadlau. Maybe it changes to reflexive, but
It does.
it does say. Oh dear.
So you won't have chet. You won't have chet in there. What's the reflexive object? Yeah, what?
Schwadzatin.
Chunachaway 10,000 points. Schwadzatin. Okay. So here's the pattern. That particular pattern is going to repeat, but the subject's going to change. Let's do, Simmer. We saw him.
Watusateen.
Watusateen. We saw them.
Wutusateen.
Them.
Us Wutusateen.
Us Watusateen. We saw you.
Eutusateen.
Eutusateen. So again, contraction from the open objects. Pasank. We saw y'all.
Eutusateen.
Eutusateen. Okay. Kuuch. We saw someone.
Kutusateen.
Kutusateen, because we have the perfective marker. Okay. Sisala, we saw something.
Atwutusateen.
Atwutusateen. Timik, we saw ourselves.
Shwatudzateen.
Shwatudzateen, okay. You saw it. So the y plus the I plus the s.
Yisateen.
Yisateen, okay. Saw them.
Husyasateen.
Husyasateen. You saw me. Me. Khatyasateen. Okay, Kuwuch. You saw us.
Hayasateen.
Hayasateen. Okay. Sisala, you saw someone.
Kuisateen.
Puisateen. Puisateen. Fun, kind of weird
Tui.
one.
What's
Tui.
that? What was that one yesterday? Tui.
Tui de us.
Tui.
Pouted. Puisateen. Nakaaway tui de us. You saw me and then you pouted. Simik, you saw something.
Atyasateen.
Atyasateen. Khich, you saw yourself.
Would it have the sh in it?
Mhm.
The first part?
Mhm.
Shizateen.
Shidzateen. Khanachike. Y'all saw him.
Yisateen.
Yisateen. Okay. Y'all saw them.
Husyasateen.
Husyisateen. Kuruch. Y'all saw me.
Kutyisateen.
Khatyisateen. Sisala. Y'all saw us.
Hayisateen.
Hayisateen. Simik. Y'all saw someone.
Kuisateen.
Kuyisateen. Y'all saw something.
Atyisateen.
Atyisateen. Y'all saw yourselves.
Shizateen.
Shidzateen. Okay. She saw her. Should be 0. So that should be 8.
Husyasateen.
Ausateen. Okay. Ausateen. Ron Burgundy Ayachat. Kuwuch. They saw them. Saucy's getting me too.
Husausateen.
Has Ausateen. Sisala. She saw me. She's on me.
Chat Chataucetine.
Chatwusatine. Chatwusatine. Once we get away from the third person, the falls up.
With a sign, right?
Mm-hmm. Chatwusatine. Simach. He saw us.
Ha'awakash.
Hawakash, Yahweh, Hawakash. Yishanuhan.
Very Houdini away. Hausatine.
Hausatine, Yake. She saw you.
Eusatine.
Eusatine, Yake. She saw y'all.
Eusatine.
Eusatine, Yake. She saw someone.
Queensatine.
Oh yeah, sorry. Tusatine. Tusatine, Yake. She saw something. Kawuch.
Kusatine.
Something should be at.
Oh, katke atsatine.
Atwusatine. Atwusatine. She saw herself. Sisala.
Aucetine.
Schwudzatine. Schwudzatine. Only with the 3 on 3 do we get the A. Zimik. They saw me.
Chatwusatine.
As Chetwusatine. They saw us.
Hashautusatine.
As Hausatine.
How?
Hausatine. They saw you.
Husilcitine.
As Eusatine. They saw y'all.
Hasusatine.
As Eusatine. Kawuch. They saw someone.
Kusatine.
As Pusatine. Okay. Sisala. They saw something.
Hasatwusatine.
Asatwusatine. Okay. Simik. They saw themselves.
Hashwudzatine.
Hashwudzatine. Okay. He was seen.
Satine.
This should start with wa.
Oh.
There should be a fourth person pronoun, which will make the classifier do something.
Oh, it's just Woodsatine.
Wadudzatine. Wadudzatine.
Husilcitine.
Wadudzatine. What the heck? Sounds like a product. Buy Wadudzatine. Find that one. No, looks like they're all that way. This will be fun. Hey, they were seen.
Huswudzatine.
Us Wadudzatine. Dang it. Wait, I can fix this. Copy and paste. No, that's wrong.
Woodsatine.
Wadudzatine. Now I can fix it. Ah! I was seen. Is that correct? I was seen? I guess so.
Hasusatine.
Chatwudzatine. Okay. Ace. Ace. Way. Cool. We were seen.
Hawududzatine.
How did the team?
How did
Okay. How did the team? Salah, you were seen.
You do the team.
You did the team. Okay, this one's gonna be a harder one to fix. Oh. Okay. Y'all were seen.
You do the team.
You did the team. Okay.
Who leads the team?
Who did the team? Uchiai.
Who did the team?
What did the team? Kunachawe yake. Yijin taknai touch kunachuk egg cheese. I had some future stuff on here, but we're not going to worry about it. So this is Guchletech, and we see how changing the subject can do some stuff there. Same thing. So this pops up because it needs, you can't say Hasguchletech. Is that right? I think that one's wrong. Okay, anyways, I've had enough. I've done enough. I've done enough damage. Okay. Let's stop that. Cheesh. Knachoech tu je e. Je in chatzati. Kakoech tu je ke. Je in chatzati nuch. But it's cheesh away. Sing it your tangi ye jiwene. Ya dechegi a kejin ga ka ashu. Ush kanachkach tu da art. Ya huchi aye ka kutan. Kutan gawu ayayek kwati. Yach tu ye kej at the katuhan. Kanachawe kenaltina ya. Hayu chatangi buch. Ach tu ye ke kanachaya. Ya ach tu asabu. At wasku kotinaya yuch aitle atki. Chakakawe haste ikakanashi yach tu asabu kunai shi. Haste ikakunai shi. Ajoy gwalhastu wushatish. Hayu chatangi ka. One qanin saya telhas. Asaywa achch. Hayu chatangi. Naqa away hasu tu qadati. Hayu chatangi tin. Kadain yu khaytla'a. Hachatak away achtu asabukan sheesh. Any closing thoughts? Last class. Next week we have finals. Now we're going to do type something up for me before Tuesday. I guess you can do it by Friday. Next Friday is fine.
Can we figure out like what
Yeah.
pages of what
Sure.
thing?
So you can retype a story that hasn't been typed yet. I know you guys were working on the translation, and you should also be typing up in Tlingit that paper on medicines that you guys did, that you guys were working on. I would prefer if you could set up like a table that has a Tlingit sentence on this side and the translation here. That would be very helpful. And then in addition, I know you guys were talking about typing up some of the Lear pages. It would be like 10 pages. That should be fine. It's not a lot of work. And then we can pick which pages you want to do.
Yeah, could we do
We
that?
should probably do that sequentially, so we're not just randomly grabbing. And the first,
I want pages 1 through
I have a bunch of stuff.
1 through 5 and 6 through 10.
right, or like page 1,
Oh, wait, that's-
23, 16. No, you have to take a chunk.
I have a bunch of.
I think was out for the review of what we are supposed to be typing. Could we possibly review the final?
Yeah, so we decided for the final, we would work on, let me put it up on the screen here, hold on. I can't talk and think at the same time. It's like walking and chewing bubblegum. So what we kind of decided to do was take a look at this document by Jeff Lear. It's Lear, Tlingit Verbs. You can find it on tlingitlanguage.com. It's a pretty big document. And I would actually, well, so here's the beginning. It starts out with ha. Right, so here's page 1. And there's not a whole lot to it, but what I would like is probably the easiest thing would be for this to be a table. So if it's not a table, that's fine. You could just do, hold on, I was going to sneeze. Like, there it is. Sheesh, okay. Don't worry about the underline on the Y, just write it as a Y. Okay. And do your best. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to read some of the handwriting, although I think he has nice handwriting. But for example, you would put Shayaudaha, just like it is, Shayaudaha. And then in the next cell over on a table, and it could just be in a Word document, you would type, they became many, comma, there got to be lots of them. The N, I would probably put a third column there with the N in parentheses, because then we can look at that. But I think that's telling us the conjugation prefix, perhaps. And then just do your best. And once you've got it typed out, I'll be able to go through and look at it and do some things. So, Atchigashahin. She has lots of possessions. And so it's going through, and so I guess there should also be a third, so there would be one table on the left, and if you just want to make a Word document, that's fine, and just do paragraphs. But you should have the entry, ach, wuha. Then you should have the definition, is missing, is gone, has disappeared. And then if there's some notes, that might go either in the next paragraph down, or what I would prefer would be the third column, mysteriously or by means unknown, also something, you know. So this is all the notes about the meaning of this thing. And it's a good exercise, I think, in looking at this stuff. Eventually we want to go through and have all of this redone. And just let me know if you've got questions. Took danach. You got a rash on his butt. Okay. Any questions? Also, you should write a big speech. You should have a big speech ready for Tuesday. We're going to have closing speeches because that's what we do here. You should be, epic and life-changing, and should make the moon twirl around or do something like that. But just something that just sort of, whatever's on your mind, you should talk to us about something, and it should be a goodly length, should we say, whatever. You should be pushing your skills as far as what you can do in the language, or trying to do something that you were hoping to accomplish.
Okay, so people are doing pages what through what? Or
I think,
are there already pages done?
should we do 10? Should we do 20? They seem pretty short. I think you should do 20 pages. Is that too much? Okay. Who wants 1 through 20?
Has anyone already started? Okay.
Kawuch, was that a yes? You want a 1 through 20? Or did you have a
Oh,
question?
sure, but I was also wondering, are we doing 20 pages of this, and then you said we are typing a story that hasn't been documented?
No, let's just drop that. We'll just do 20 pages of this and an epic speech.
Yeah, just that.
Just, whatever. In 3 days or 4 days or whatever.
You know, it would change, it would be life-changing, stop the world. A Tlingit introduction that took less than 1 minute.
No introduction. No, none. That can't be part of it. You can talk about your family. If you want to do like shagun da. That's fun. Okay, who wants 1 through 20? And this is all we're doing. It's just the Lear retype.
And the
I'll do 120.
Okay,
okay.
I better write this thing. Hold on. Let me make a couple notes here.
Can I retype something from the Seder?
Yeah, if you want to work on a story retyped instead, that's acceptable.
No, I'm sending you.
The ones that you did? Good.
There's like,
I'll save them.
There's
this
like
time.
10 of them, so.
21 through 40.
I'll do it.
Me.
Oh, you got beat. It's a Yawadlock. I think I want to check, but I think Yawadlock, if you start changing the object, that's I defeated you. A Yawadlock. I whooped you. I won.
Ishan Hat.
41 to 60.
13.
Kuruch, perhaps. Okay.
Suyayanaka.
41 to 60. Okay. 61 to 80.
I'll do those.
81 to 866. Okay, we'll see if anybody else. I think this is all.
Sounds like it's your turn.
You want 81 to 100? You could do. If you're busy, it's okay. 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 And we all know what we're doing. So you have until Friday to get the retypes to me. Let me know if you've got questions about it. And then Tuesday we'll meet here 5:30 to 7:30. Big speeches, question and answer. Talk a little bit about the next steps, how to have a good summer as a language learner. Because you can have a great summer, but a terrible summer as a language learner. So we always got to keep those things tied together.
I was going to ask about that. Is anybody going to be bored this summer?
I don't know, but we should be looking for language activities to do. I'll probably be gone until June 24th. And then
Are you going to be here for celebration?
probably. I'll probably come back for that. And then, but we could do something during celebration, perhaps. Or
Any
somebody else
immersions
could.
happening?
Some kind of immersion takeover of some facility downtown.
I wonder if SHI is going to do another one in Sitka or somewhere else.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
that
I
might
mean,
be.
because they did one last year.
Yeah, I'll keep my eye out for immersion gatherings. We're planning potentially a 7-day intensive language workshop in Carcross, probably August 8th through the 15th or so, somewhere in that range. I haven't proposed it yet.
Would
And
that
then-
be open to outside visitors?
Yeah. So I've been doing these sort of things where I try to do as much stuff as humanly possible for 7 to 10 days, going about 8 hours a day. And usually what I tell the organizations, if they pay for my time, it's just free for everybody. The more people we have, the better. And the last time we did it at Carcross, the most people we had who were sort of there for the whole time was up to about 24. And at one time we had, I think, 5 fluent speakers. And there was maybe 20 speakers in the interior. So we had 25% of the fluent speakers in the interior. It's really fun.
People could stay with me in Whitehorse, just stay here, and we could drive back and forth, and it would cut down, like if you came from Juneau, it would cut down trying to find a place to stay in Carcross. It just cut down expenses too for everyone.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, and we'll keep in touch about opportunities. I think we should just keep it going. If you guys wanted to start like some regular, like even a Google Hangout night, where there's chances just to get together and work on things, I might be able to tune in now and then and give people things to do. Yeah, I think it should be fun, and I think there's got to be ways that we keep ourselves connected, because we talk about it every spring, and then every fall it seems like we get together, and it was like, oh, gee, I didn't do very, and that's not the case with everybody, but it's real easy to just go a week, and then 2 weeks, and then 3 months, and you haven't done very much. And what happens is that all these things, you're trying to just really push your brain to think in these modes, and sometimes you're working just on pattern stuff, but then you've got to do, we can do a lot of that, but you've got to go find methods of putting the application, because if your brain is not trying to now grab those patterns that it's been learning and put them to use, then it starts to get hard to remember them. Okay.
Kunai, I just have one question. Am I pages 1 to 20, and did you want it like by Friday, tomorrow?
Oh no, by next,
By Friday.
next Friday. So like 8 days from now. And you are pages 1 through 20. So
By
it's
tomorrow.
within an hour. By next Friday. So that's final. Next week is finals week, so that's why it would be next Friday. So you are 1 through 20. Kutrich is 21 to 40. Wuch is 41 to 60. Nuea is 6 to 801, apparently. 60 to 81. 61 to 80. And then we'll work on the rest later. And Sumuk is doing a story retype from Seidaya. Okay. And Chish the Kat Yuhan Mukecha Konach Mushekach Tusteen Tuesday, 5:30. Big speeches. I'm looking forward to it.
Enough.
Chish.